Attention, please. Now that we're all here, I officially declare the party switch to be in the on position.
Let's get this party started.
You ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from Felony Flats and around the world, the original Mayhem Behind the Mic broadcast crew that thinks mediocre is good enough, the BS Boys. Yes, here we are once again hanging out at Felony Flats where rent is cheap and, well, so is just about everything else. We are the BS Boys. This is the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show live every Thursday night right here somewhere on the internet.
At 7:30 Pacific time.
Yeah, which means it's an hour later if you're listening in Montana.
Right.
For some of those folks. And I'll tell you why that's important is because we're actually going to have Mike Butters on later on in the show, the commissioner for the America West Hockey League and part-time actor. That ought to be fun to talk to him about, along with Jake Laime, head coach of the Ogden Mustangs. So that's going to be a really, really good show.
Yes, sir.
So here we go. A couple
Let's
things that I want to bring up before we actually start talking hockey. One of my all-time favorite actors was arrested last Sunday. Now, authorities in California say Peter Robbins was arrested on charges that include stalking. Do you have any idea who Peter Robbins is?
You know,
not a real common name, but once I tell you, you will definitely know who he is.
I think I do. I really do, honestly.
So he was trying to get back into the States, coming in from Mexico, and he was arrested. Well, there was a warrant out for his arrest out of San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me play this for you. This is going to give you a really big
Listen
tip.
up, folks.
Nobody sent me a Christmas card today. I almost wish there weren't a holiday season. I know nobody likes me. Why do we have to have a holiday season to emphasize it? Oh, good grief.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
That's Peter Robbins. He was the voice of Charlie Brown in two of my all-time favorite Charlie Brown shows. Charlie Brown Christmas, and it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Well, think about it. When we were growing up back east, what did we do on Thursday or Friday night before Christmas? We were gathering around the TV at 8 o'clock at night or 7:30, whenever it was on.
I still do.
Charlie Brown, yeah.
I still do with my kids. It's sort of like it's just routine. And so Peter Robbins, apparently going to jail for, he was arrested for stalking. We'll find out if that actually comes through or not. It was also part of the warrant. He was making death threats.
Oh, that's never good.
And making threats of bodily injury. So old Pete spending a little time in jail possibly. I'm sure he got bailed out maybe by Lucy or Linus, but out in the street again. Another thing I want to bring up, and this has to do with our phone number, 971-258-2840. You can call us live. Talk to us tonight. Love to talk to you. Or if we're not on the air, you can actually call and leave a voicemail.
At the line of BS.
We checked this. I checked this yesterday. This is creepy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this.
No, you haven't. I found it, and I debated whether or not I was actually going to play it or not. And it just kind of goes to show that there's some pretty freaky people out there. Listen to this message we got.
The profoundness of what I've been listening to for a long time is something that I don't hear very often because I live in a world where not much really happens, you know? And, okay, I'm an astrologer, and I don't really talk very much. I'm much of a nice one, but God, do I love you, folks. I love you very, very much, and I hope you never get off the air. Please stay with us. And okay, listen, I listen to you all the time, and I never know what the words to say. Okay, like I've heard an awful lot, and tonight, for the first time, I have heard for my life, have I ever heard esoteric, beautiful words. I mean, the profoundness of esoteric kind of knowledge that everyone should project out and say, don't worry about a thing. Everything is fantastically all right. No problems. There's no problems like, say, with anything that we have problems with.
Are you sure that wasn't AJ?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that was actually meant for us, but that was actually on our voicemail. And if that's the kind of fans we're attracting,
It's a fan.
I quit.
I'm not letting you quit.
I don't need any more whacked out fans. But yeah, that was a voicemail that we got.
Wow.
So yeah, if you do want to call 971-258-2840, don't be weird. Not like that. Because that was kind of freaking me out. I wasn't really sure if I was going to play it or not. Hey, the other thing is today is National Peanut Butter Day.
I love peanut butter.
Yep.
Peanut butter and jelly.
You like
peanut butter and toast. Peanut butter and bananas.
Jif?
Ooh,
You like
yeah.
Jif? Yeah. Peter Pan? Mm-hmm. Yep. Peanut butter is good. So today is National Peanut Butter Day. We haven't talked about hockey at all.
No, we haven't.
But we're about to.
Let's go.
Did you know that the USA Winter Meetings wrapped up? And hopefully we will get a glimpse of what happened down in Florida when we actually talk to Mike Butters later on in the show. It was a mojo week for some teams as upsets took center stage this past weekend.
No kidding. Western States League leading Idaho Junior Steelheads took an overtime loss against the Boulder Bison last Friday night. They lost 5-4 in overtime.
That was really smooth.
Yes.
They lost in Idaho.
Lost
in McCall.
Idaho,
a very difficult place to play. Right now, the Steelheads have put together the last 4 seasons, amazing records, and they are still leading right now in the top of the Western States Hockey League. They are 31-1-0 for 61 points.
Their first loss of the season. That's impressive.
No, second.
So, second overtime loss. One overtime loss, one loss for 2 losses. You're right. Sorry.
They are rolling, and they are going to be a very tough team to beat. Right now, I really seriously doubt anybody's going to catch them. I truly believe they will end up taking the division this year. And, well, as they've done the last couple of years, they're actually 2-time Thorn Cup champions, and the championship will be held in Idaho again this year. So they kind of got an automatic bid.
Yeah, they get a bye right into the championship for the Western States Hockey League. And Ogden's following up with 16 wins, 15 losses, 1 overtime loss, and 4 shootout losses for 37 points.
Now, those 4 shootout losses may really come back to haunt them, as Southern Oregon, as of right now, they are only 1 point behind. They have 36 points, but they have 5 games in hand over Ogden. They are 18-13. So second place is huge, and we're going to actually end up talking to Jake Laime about this, because second place actually gets a bye in the first round, I do believe, in the playoffs, and that will also give home ice advantage.
2 teams get a bye.
Yeah, well, Ogden, yeah, first round bye, and then Ogden, I believe, will end up playing the.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind
Gremlin?
That was kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Ogden will end up playing the winner of the first round of the playoffs. That would be between the third and fourth place teams. So second place, huge right now. But again, Southern came back from a 3-game trip in Salt Lake where they went 2-1, and they picked up those very important points, being only 1 point behind Ogden right now.
And okay, so you've got Southern Oregon with 18 wins, 13 losses for 36 points. Seattle, 9 wins for 18 losses, 2 overtime losses, 5 shootout losses for 25 points. If those 2 teams meet up in the playoffs again.
What 2 teams?
Southern and Seattle.
Yeah.
They've already played 10 times this year.
12.
They
played 12 times. Southern went 11-1 against Seattle this year. But, it's playoffs. Anything could happen, and Southern really had Seattle's number so far all year right now. Salt Lake, though, is really creeping up on Seattle. Salt Lake, the record really, I don't think, is very indicative of how good of a team they are. They're 8-17-0-2, 18 points. Here's the thing, though. They've only played 27 games so far. So they have games in hand over everybody and can certainly make up points when everybody else is off.
They can make up the points, get ahead of Seattle, but they're going to have a tough schedule ahead.
Seattle only has 12 games left
in
the regular season, 9 at home, which will bode hopefully well for Seattle. They're only 8-1-2 at home, though, so they don't have a really good home record, but they haven't played there very often.
And Ogden's only got, 10 games left?
Yep. Yeah, I can't believe how fast the season has actually gone. It has really ripped right by. We're going to pop back and let's look at the weekend games and scores from last weekend. Like I say, Southern was over in Salt Lake. The first game up, Southern beat Salt Lake 2-1. And that, it really, especially with being on the road, Salt Lake being a fairly decent team, but Southern had to win those games because they're trying to chase Ogden right now. The problem, one of the problems is half the team was sick and had the flu for Southern.
Half the team was sick. It's not easy to play when you're feeling that way. They really had to dig down deep just to come up with enough players who were well enough to put on the pads and skates.
Well, when you're not feeling well and you've got the elevation to deal with, you've got the extremely cold temperatures outside.
Dehydration, dry.
It all comes into play.
And the temperatures, that probably didn't help either in Ogden.
The temperature of the players or the temperature
players
outside?
And outside. You get those chills with that flu. It's a nasty flu.
Yeah, it's not real good. I already mentioned that Boulder did beat Idaho 5-4 on Friday, January 18th. And then on Saturday, we had the Spartans take on Ogden once again. Went to a shootout.
Yeah, it was another exciting game. I was watching that game the other day. Very good shootout. Buckley has just been on fire with his shootouts.
He's like he's either 4-0 or 5-0 in shootouts right now.
He hasn't lost one.
No, so that was a huge 2 points that Southern picked up. Then you had Boulder going against Idaho once again. Idaho took the game 2-1. Go ahead.
Well, what do you say? I guess that's what you're going to expect every now and then an upset, and then the team's going to bounce back probably, the next game.
Idaho's not going to be really catching too many, people aren't going to catch Idaho flat-footed too often. And that might have been one of those situations where Boulder did come in and catch Idaho a bit flat-footed. But then the Sunday, January 20th game, Idaho ended up taking Boulder once again 7-1. Then on Sunday, third game in 3 days, Southern Oregon played Salt Lake once again. Salt Lake won 5-2.
The kids were just out of gas at that point.
Exhausted. I watched some of the game, and the kids looked on both sides, but especially Southern looked very, very tired.
Yeah, 3 days straight on the road, not feeling well. You got the flu, and by that third game, you're just exhausted.
Well, the youth can only carry you so far.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you've got a temperature like that, when you're not able to hold your food down, and God bless the boys that they were able to hold it to 5-2.
And then it was a long, long bus ride home. Now that's going to be sort of the series we want to watch. At least that's the one I'm going to be watching. Will be the Ogden Southern games for the rest of the season.
Should be a good time, and especially when we're playing out there in Ogden, we get to listen to our buddy John.
Yeah, John McBride was on the show last week.
Yep.
Did a great job. Love having John on, and offered him an invite to come back anytime he would like to. Speaking of the phone, 971-258-2840. Or you can email us, bsboys@live.com, boys with a Z. You can ask us pretty much anything you want.
You may not get an answer that you'd like to hear, but we'll respond.
Well, one of us will respond somewhere along the way. I'm not really sure which one. But again, this really kind of is just dealing with the Western states, the Pacific Northwest Division, AWHL, and NORPAC. There's not enough time in the day to be dealing with all the other leagues. We could be talking about, I don't know, the T-Birds and the Silvertips and the Americans and the Chiefs and the Winterhawks. And personally, I don't really care about those guys.
Well, I do. It's fun to watch those guys. Winterhawks, just real quick, I'll get off my high horse. They've had a very good season this year. I was watching a WHL game, Seattle and Everett last night. What a rivalry that is. There was a bunch of fights in there. And, coming from Portland, it's always good to see teams roll on Seattle. Always good to see teams roll on Seattle.
Yeah, I believe Seattle beat Portland recently also.
Yeah, they did.
Which is... Again, I was throwing my hat into the ring there. And those of you that know me probably know why.
Exactly.
That I'm kind of going that way. So anyway, that's pretty much the Western states right there. The upcoming schedule, this is a huge weekend for Southern Oregon. They have the Idaho Junior Steelheads in town at the Medford Madhouse Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And if we weren't working and I wasn't on call, I would probably head down there to watch those games. They were going to be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a big 3-game series right there. 6 points up for grabs. Now, I don't know. It's going to be really tough for Southern to dominate Idaho. They might get lucky and might sneak a couple points out of it, and that would be huge for the Spartans. Not saying that they can't win. It's going to take 60 minutes and phenomenal goaltending.
Phenomenal goaltending, but you've also got the Medford Madhouse backers there.
Crazy.
600-700 people just screaming at those boys coming in from Idaho.
Yeah, they are a very loud, rowdy, proud group of fans that Medford has down there, and that really legitimately, truly is another player on the ice right there.
It is, especially down there with like we said, how many people they get.
Well, and we've talked to a lot of players that have actually gone down there and played, and most of them absolutely loved it when they were being ribbed and heckled and screamed at and flipped off, and the fans go nuts down there.
They do. One of my favorite comments was from Sean Buckley, who played for Seattle and used to go down there, and people were just yelling at him, flipping him off, screaming things, that we can't really say on the air. Well, we could if we wanted to, but we're not going to. And he always had a smile for him and a nod.
Yeah.
And he said he just loved that. He thrived off of that type of environment.
Yeah, and
now he's playing there.
That had to have been an awfully difficult change also, coming from Seattle to Southern, where you probably one of the most hated players on Seattle down there.
Yeah.
And now he's a fan favorite down there.
Yes, he is.
Funny how that kind of works out. Salt Lake City Moose, they are actually playing the Cheyenne Stampede in Cheyenne on Friday. Game time 7:35. Huge games for Salt Lake as well, as the Totems have another weekend off. And this actually will give another 6-point game up, or a point spread up for grabs. 18 points. They're only 7 points back of Seattle right now. This could be a big 6-point swing for Salt Lake.
I'd love to understand how the schedules are made up and how there's so much of a disparity with some of the teams in here that only have 27 games. Ogden has 36 with only 10 left.
Yeah, no, it's kind of Seattle was on the road it seemed like the entire first half of the season.
Well, it's got to be a good feeling for Coach Murphy not to have to get on that bus too much more.
No, and they really, when the chance presents itself, they definitely have to take advantage of it, as Salt Lake is nipping at their heels and Seattle is chasing Southern, and Southern is 1 point behind Ogden. Man, this is going to be a race to the playoffs right here.
Going to be a fun last part of the season, not only in the Western States League, but NORPAC and the America West as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break. We're going to go ahead and get Jake Laime on the phone, head coach of the Ogden Mustangs.
Nice.
And if you'd like to give us a call, you certainly can do that, 971-258-2840. We'll be back in just a sec.
Artificially flavored with imitation talent? Here they are once again, the BS Boys.
Is that like a Twinkie, artificially
flavored? Yeah. There's nothing worse than, you folks can't see it, obviously, at home, but sitting here watching Special Greg air guitar and air drum. It's almost, I'm sorry, it's almost like...
It's Sammy Hagar.
I know, you can't really help it. It's sort of like, the music we were playing in the ramp up, man. I'm telling you, it just brought back serious memories of things we all did back in the 70s, possibly late 60s, depending on how old you were.
Yeah.
Not me, though.
Yeah, no, definitely not you.
Lava lamps, black lights, shag carpeting.
Barbarella posters.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. But you know what? To each their own.
That's
Just
right.
don't ever air drum and air guitar
Can't
Again.
promise that. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not going to promise that.
Yeah, I know. Certain things you can promise, certain things you cannot. So that's going to bring us up to the first interview of the evening. We got Jake Laime on the line. Jake comes from Ogden. He's the head coach there at the Ogden Mustangs, and he spent the previous 2 seasons down as the associate head coach of the Florida Junior Blades in the Empire Junior Hockey League, where he acquired a 78-14-13 and 1 record.
Nice, very
That's
nice.
awesome,
Yeah.
and earned 2 consecutive national championship berths.
And prior to his time in Florida, Jake served as assistant coach to the 2008-2009 Junior B national champions Suffolk Juniors.
And he's also been a scout for several of the nation's top leagues, including USHL, NAHL, and the EJHL. On the line right now, line of BS no less, we got Jake Laime. Jake, can you hear us?
I can, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing well, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Excellent. That's 2 weeks in a row we've gotten this phone to work the first time.
It's the small things that
Yeah.
make Special Greg happy. He's doing the happy dance right now because the phone works. Man, that's goofy. That's goofy.
So Jake, give us some background information about you outside of what we've already discussed here. Where you're from and your hockey background, where you played and stuff like that.
I'm born and raised in Michigan. I grew up there my whole life. I'm from Muskegon. It's a small town on the west coast, right on Lake Michigan there. Grew up playing hockey, local organization called the Muskegon Chiefs. Played travel hockey through Grand Rapids, Detroit, AAA tournaments, things like that. And, went on, played high school hockey at Mona Shores High School. State champions, 2001 state champions, and then played some junior hockey. Back when I was playing, it was the NA3 was the Central States League, and I played with the Grand Rapids Junior Owls, and kind of bounced around a little bit from summer to summer with some camps, and ended up playing in the American West Hockey League with Tupelo down in Mississippi, and just kind of went from there. After that, I didn't have a lot of options available to me. I was talking to a few different schools, and in hindsight, probably wish I was a better student. But I ended up playing a semester at Davenport University. It's ACHA, and I left school and did some pro camps, some free agent camps and stuff like that, and got my foot in the door and just kind of bounced around from there.
And that led you into coaching. I mean, what were the steps that you took to, get yourself, in the position that you're in now? I mean, you don't just wake up one day, or maybe you do, that you say, gosh, I'd like to be a coach. I mean, that's a huge responsibility. It's more than a full-time job.
Yeah, I can't see myself doing much other than coaching. I knew I wanted to stay involved, and when I was faced with the reality of not playing anymore, I knew I wanted to stay involved in some capacity, and I kind of settled in Detroit there. I finished my playing career in Port Huron and settled in the Detroit area and started working with some local programs, doing some on-ice clinics, strength and conditioning. The strength and conditioning kind of took off for me, and it led to new opportunities out in Connecticut and Long Island, New York, where I jumped on as an assistant coach with Suffolk PAL, and
Kind of went on from there. You've been a busy guy. Education, you tapped on education real briefly. Is this something that you're definitely talking to your kids about there in Ogden, about how important education is?
Oh, absolutely. I think as like I said, in hindsight, looking back now, it may be the pot calling the kettle black, but no kid wants to hear, you hear it from mom and dad your whole life, and it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. At least it did for me. But, it's so important. And the difference between, a 2.0 and a 2.7 or a 2.5 and a 3.2, I mean, it opens up so many more windows. And, a good player can be a great player at any level. Just, academically, it opens so many more doors to these players. And I don't think you realize it at such a young age.
No, you don't. And I went through the same thing, and the one thing that I always made sure that my kids understood are some of the mistakes that I made, and thankfully so far they've listened begrudgingly sometimes, but they listen. They can see what the future holds for them if they've got some good mentors, and talking to them about getting that education and getting better grades is always a good thing. You're doing very well this year. I mean, you've already beat the amount of wins you guys had last season. You were 13, 29 and 3, 16, 15, 1 and 1 this year. What's your style of coaching, and what type of systems do you like to run with your boys over in Ogden?
You know what? If I would have had this interview 5 years ago, I probably would have been, the piss and vinegar coach. I like the rough, the physicality of the game. But I think my time on the East Coast has kind of shifted my mindset, and I try to, model a well-rounded team. I've grown accustomed and I'm appreciative of a very skilled, smart, fast game, which is highly touted on the East Coast there. But I'm still a fan of good old-fashioned hockey as well. So, I think every team's recipe for success is a well-balanced team. You need your goal scorers, you need your playmakers, you need your grinders. This year, in my recruiting through the summer, I brought in a very talented, skilled group of guys, and we've had some success early on. I was a little naive to really what the Western states offered in regards to the physicality of the game. It's been a while since I've experienced that. Obviously with the Net and the Empire and the EJ, there's no fighting. It's a lot more east and west as opposed to north and south and brute strength. So, I want to put together a team that can compete every night, from your goal scorers right down to your third line, fourth line scrappers, the guys who come playoff time really set the trend and mold your success for postseason.
Well, you mentioned the physical part of the play, and boy, when you guys played Southern in Ogden, that was a hard hitting affair. You guys went 2-1 in Ogden, and then went 1-2 back in Southern. 6 games back to back. That kind of breeds a little anger and resentment, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. It was a dogfight, that was for sure. And that's another thing with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday games. You don't realize the wear and tear that it puts not only on a coaching staff, but your players, both mentally and physically. I've been used to 2-game series, or you go to a showcase and you have 4 games in 5 days, but they're 2 25-minute periods. So that Sunday game really adds up, and it puts a toll on your body and mentally.
Like I say, when you see a team, you play 6 times within literally 10 days, and you like the rough and tumble stuff. Prior to Mike Stanaway's departure, Stanaway's coaching style was extremely physical. Now you got Idaho coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Is that something that you try to bring to the table every game? Physical play, don't take stupid penalties, but hard hitting the whole time?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a physical presence, especially with Idaho. They're a very skilled team. I think, El Paso's had a lot of success. Boulder's recently had some success with just bringing a physical brand to hockey. I think there's a fine line between, being physical and how you communicate with your players. What's a stupid penalty? Fighting isn't necessarily tough. You have to understand the ins and outs of the game and what's best for the team at any given moment. And, we've had some success against Idaho, and, we got in penalty trouble early on, and it came back to haunt us. So, we have to go in when they come here, we have to go in with the mindset that, we play a clean, tough, north and south game and, stay out of the box, don't hurt ourselves.
Is your game plan different if you're playing at home or up in Idaho?
It's a little different. A lot of people say that, McCall's a real hard place to go into. I mean, my thing is it's another rink. We've all played at hundreds of rinks. It can't be any different than anywhere else. We have a little bit of home ice advantage with the fact that we have a bigger sheet of ice, and the elevation here in Ogden puts a little toll on some of the visiting teams, especially over a 3-game series. But we have Idaho on a Friday, Saturday. But definitely, we like to. We're a fast, skilled team. We're pretty well conditioned. We like to utilize the space. Idaho uses their ice incredibly well. They use it to their advantage. So hopefully we can take something back on our home turf.
So it looks like you only had, 3 players return from last season. You pretty much built the team up from scratch, it looks like.
Yeah, it was a busy off season, that's for sure.
Right now you got Christian Kraus, seems to be the workhorse there for you there in Ogden, 18 goals, 17 assists, 35 points. But I was looking kind of going down the scoring lines here. You've got scoring coming from a lot of different places.
We do, and that's a difficulty that you have night in and night out with the lineup is to, who do we plug in where, who are our scratches, who's excelling. But, Christian's been a horse for us. Everybody's done well. Skylar Seifert in his rookie year, he's been a go-to penalty kill guy. Alex Pizarro, a returner, has been an incredible workhorse on the, we transitioned him into a defenseman. He's done incredibly well. We've picked up guys, Sean Haltom from the North American League, Michael Deary from the North American League. We picked up Tyler Fallica early on, and those guys have been tremendous assets, as well as, the guys that I brought in. I have Aaron Siracusa, who played for me last year in Florida, and, bringing that many guys, it's a buy-in. A lot of these teams have success, and I don't want to take it away from, their coaching staff or the organization, but, a lot of these guys have 12 to 15 players returning every year, and they build a sense of camaraderie and things like that. So I think that's kind of been our overwhelming obstacle, is just gelling and really getting 25 guys to buy in and come together as one.
You're coming from Florida, where you probably drove up, if you had a convertible, in the middle of winter to the rink, and now you're in Ogden. You're bringing some of these guys in from Florida. How are they adjusting to the much colder temperatures than what they're probably used to?
Yeah, well, I think my only Florida boy. My only Florida boy is Aaron. I'm not so sure that he's ever seen snow. He played 3 or 4 years ago at Harrington College up in Canada, so I'm sure he's accustomed to a little bit, but. It's different, and I'm from Michigan, and, I lived in New York, and I've been around it. So, I knew what I was in for, but you kind of get suited into that Florida weather, and you don't realize you miss it until you got 4 feet of snow around you.
I don't know, man, because when I was working, actually, I worked a lot in Montreal, and our winter headquarters was Daytona Beach, Florida.
That's nice.
Oh, man. If I didn't have to come back, I wouldn't have left Florida. But, yeah, good times had down there. You got 10 games left. Some pretty good opponents. You see Idaho 4 times within those 10 games, and Southern taking 2 out of 3 last weekend, kind of nipping at your heels a bit. Is this going to be sort of a focus? Are you even going to pay attention to who's behind you, or are you just going to go balls to the walls, straight ahead, forward, and let the cards fall where they may?
You know what? I think, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't reading into things, and, you always want to look in front and behind, but there's only so much you can control, and I have no control, nor do we have any control of what Southern does. We wish them the best of luck with the remainder of their season, but, we got to put our best foot forward and concentrate on winning games and getting points where we can get points. And, however it shakes out, we anticipate hopefully a berth into the first round, and whatever success we have will kind of fall on our shoulders.
Goaltending's been actually pretty good. Tyler Fallica is playing very well. Was that kind of a concern that you had coming into the season, that you wanted somebody with some experience, or what were you looking for when you were looking between the pipes?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want to build a team, from the defensive zone out, and it starts between the pipes. You look at, Stanley Cup champions, and a lot of it boils down to that third line and, that mainstay in net. And I've known Tyler from my years back in Long Island, and he kind of went his direction and I went mine, and we've kept in contact. And he's always been a very bright and happy person. And he was in the North American League, and we crossed paths, and I told him where I was at and my direction and where I wanted to go and my sights for him, and he jumped on board, and it's been great having him.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how small of a world the hockey world is, because those relationships that you build when those players are younger, they can help you out when they get older for the teams that you're coaching. And what is your plan for after the season? I mean, you guys have a lot of time between the end of the season and when you start your camps again. And what direction does Ogden plan on going to with camps? And
I think we got to have that the look towards the end of the season to see. First and foremost, we want all of our guys to continue to climb the ladder and develop and play to their highest ability. So I'll be pushing my guys and direct them into the right camps this year, whether it be North American League or the OJ, whatever it may be. I want them to have continued success and get a taste of what the next level is. With that said, we get a jump early. I'm leaving. There's a high school showcase in Trenton, Michigan, February 8th, 9th, and 10th, which we happen to have an off weekend that I'll be headed out to kind of get an early start on the recruiting process. But generally speaking, last year I think we hit up maybe 5 showcases and talked to over 1,000 kids, emails, and didn't necessarily have the turnout that we would have liked for our camp, but we managed to get the guys that we wanted. A few of them slipped through our fingers, but they landed on their feet, and I think we'll probably approach the same direction. We'll head to Michigan a couple times. You got the Pittsburgh Showcase, America's Showcase out there held at Robert Morris. You got the Monster Showcase there in St. Louis, and we try to make an appearance to the big ones. Last year I was at Under Armour, which is now the CTM Showcase that we'll be headed to in Denver. And I think just the more, word of mouth, the more guys you see, the more guys you put a name with a face, the more success you have in the recruiting process.
Well, plus you now have the this year under your belt, and you've got some history. You've got people following you. They know who the Mustangs are. They know who the Western States Hockey League is. So, it's sort of reputation is always the most valuable thing a team and a coach has. You and Southern actually are leading, I do believe, the Western States in penalty minutes. Is that acceptable, depending on the penalties they're taking?
I would venture to say that the majority of our penalty minutes aren't acceptable. Like I said, I believe in a tough brand of hockey. If you got to drop the gloves and get after it from time to time. But like I said, it was a buy-in, and I don't think we're not young relatively in age. We're young in experience. We've got a lot of first-year junior players that are learning the ins and the outs, and sometimes the discipline comes with that. And that's been one of, I think, our knocks this year is, we're a good team, we're a skilled team, we've got a lot of talent, but, you got to stay out of the box. And, looking back at, some of our losses, it's the difference. It's 2 power play goals in a game where you're losing 5-3, So I would say that they're unacceptable. I do believe that, if you're playing a tough brand of hockey, penalty minutes naturally come, but, I believe in hard-working penalties. If you're going to take a penalty, it's got to be between the whistles, not after the whistles. And the hindsight's 50-50. We can only move forward, and hopefully we're learning. I think we've been much better in the most recent games, probably the last 5 games since Thanksgiving, we've been much better with staying out of the box.
Yeah, that's not a hard thing to teach if guys don't, if that doesn't come natural to a player, the patience and not retaliating, because most of the time the second penalty is going to get caught.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I think it's natural instinct to, want to retaliate, but, you got to do what's best for the team and understand that, at this level, although, some things slip, you're exactly right. You tend to get the retaliatory, and they pick up on that second one, and those are the ones that, come back to bite you.
So if players want to get a hold of you to find out where your camps are, because what we'll be doing is posting this up on our YouTube channel, what is an email address that they can get a hold of you at, or what's the best contact method?
My contact, my email is headcoach@ogdenmustangs.com, pretty simple. And, we have our website, ogdenmustangs.com. It has all my contact, cell phone number, email, as well as we have a recruiting Facebook page. We have our mascot, Murray the Mustang, that John, who you spoke to last week, does an excellent job with, and Kyle Gover manages some of our Mustang fan pages, but we have a recruiting page too with over 1,000 friends of prospective players that we're able to reach out and network through as well. So that's just Ogden Mustangs Recruiting, and that's on Facebook.
It's amazing how social media has taken over.
I was just going to say that same thing. Yeah, it is amazing. Facebook, Twitter, you can just rattle a couple more of them off as well. But yeah, it's amazing all of the things that are on those social media pages.
Well, also, years ago when we played, back when there were still Rolling Stones, I think.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have text messaging. We didn't have Facebook, Twitter, all these things. But the downside also to that is sometimes the kids abuse the Facebook privilege, the things they post, the pictures they post. How close do you monitor what your players are doing actually on Facebook?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, we brought them in at training camp and let them know the importance. It doesn't matter where you're playing, whether you're in a huge metropolitan area or a small town like Ogden here. Your Facebook's going to get seen, and we want to send a clear and positive message to the fans and the community that we're good citizens, we're good kids, and sometimes, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So, I've talked about the importance of having, the right things on there and, monitoring what you say and things like that. And we've done a pretty good job, but, it goes back to like what you say, without the email, without the cell phones, it's unbelievable, the networking capabilities you have through these, Twitter and Facebook. Like I said, we put together that Facebook recruiting page, and within 2 weeks we had 500 friends, of just, like I said, prospective athletes, guys that I've seen at showcases. And, you put a phone call in, and it's rare you get a phone call back and email, but the Facebook, it's what kids go to. So we've had a lot of success with responses of kids on Facebook, and it's been huge.
Well, especially as parents, both, Greg and I have kids, and we monitor all that kind of stuff. We do want to make mention real quick. Skate with the Mustangs, January 25th, 7:15 p.m. at the Ice Sheet. Free admission, only $1 skate rental. Autographs and photos will be permitted.
Very nice.
And again, getting out there with your favorite Mustang there on January 25th. Jake, we're going to go ahead and let you go. We love the fact that you got on the show. We had John on last week. And we hopefully can catch up with you maybe later on in the season as it gets a little more clear what's going to happen between you guys in Southern and Seattle and Idaho.
In that playoff picture, too, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, guys. I appreciate the opportunity, and, look forward to the next time.
You did really well. Just on a personal note, is this something you like doing? I mean, do you like giving interviews like this? Are you used to it yet?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I little nerves. I tend to maybe ramble on a little bit more than I should, but Yeah, I do like it. It's fun. It helps the program. It gets people aware of what we're doing, and I enjoy BSing it with you boys.
There you go, bud. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about rambling on,
there you go.
We are the pros of rambling on. Jake, listen, you guys have a great weekend, and best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll be catching up with you later on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.
Take care, Jake.
There he is, Jake Laime.
Very good interview. He wasn't nervous?
No. I mean, it takes a while, especially when you have non-professional, non-radio, non-prepared people like us
asking
questions. It can be somewhat kind of discerning.
Challenging.
No, it's when I was many years ago doing the things that I did a lot of television, a lot of radio interviews, and it's a little different. When I was doing like interviews on the History Channel or A&E and things like that, I was really nervous. But that's video, and that's really hard to hide your nerves on that.
Well, I don't think I bring this up all the time, but I don't think I've ever seen you any more nervous than that flight to Denver. But we'll forget about that. You didn't look nervous on that YouTube video with that white car, though. That was a white car where you skidded, right?
What?
Yeah, where that guy was laying down in between the pipes.
Oh, the cones.
The cones.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you a real quick thing on that. That was completely spontaneous.
Yeah.
That was not set up. I was teaching at a driving school, a stunt
Seattle?
driving school, and he actually offered. He said, if I lay down by this cone, how close can you slide the car to me? I go, well, how close do you want me to slide to you? He goes, as close as you want. So I'm in the car with another instructor. We're driving away from him, and he's looking at me. He goes,
are you really going to do this?
Are you really going to slide next to him? I'm going, oh, yeah. He's dumb enough to get in the ground. I'm smart enough to accelerate. And I slid probably within 2.5, 3 feet of his head and sprayed him with asphalt.
Yeah, you can see that on YouTube.
It was awesome. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Well, it was more fun for me than the guy picking asphalt out of his ear canal.
For probably a week, right?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. That was nuts. So, yeah, great job, Jake. Appreciate having you on here, the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show, the only show of its kind. You know why?
Why?
Because we're on it.
Yes, the BS Boys.
The BS Boys. Send us an email, bsboys@live.com, boys with a Z. Call us, 971-258-2840, and maybe we'll see the phone actually ring. Let's go closer to home now. Let's go to our side of the world with NORPAC.
So cover the weekend game scores and highlights as much as we know about. We had Tri-Cities playing Eugene. Eugene ended up taking that game on Friday night. It was a 6-7 overtime win for Eugene. And then we had West Sound and Bellingham. West Sound 8, Bellingham 5 on Friday night. Again, Saturday night, Eugene took Tri-Cities 9-3. Bellingham ended up losing again to West Sound 5-3. And then Sunday, Eugene rolled into Vancouver and won 7-4.
Now, those are huge wins for Eugene to separate themselves away from Tri-City.
Yeah, they're up on Tri-Cities by 7 points
right now. And, as we come down, again, sort of the playoff push is taking off right now. But, as Eugene separates themselves a little bit from Tri-City, it might make them breathe a little bit easier. Now, Tri has played 30 games. Eugene has played 29. So Eugene's got one game in hand. But Tri-City expansion team, I'm impressed. They're doing very well this year.
They're doing really well, and like you said, 28 points, just 7 behind second place, and but Eugene's got one game in hand on them. West Sound's leading the NORPAC division, 24 wins, 5 losses for 48 points. Second place, Eugene, 17-11, 1 shootout loss for 35 points. Tri-Cities in third place, 13 wins, 15 losses, 2 overtime losses for 28 points. And we've got Glacier, who's splitting time between the NORPAC and the America West Hockey League. They are at 13 wins, 4 losses, 1 overtime loss. And again, those points over in the America West League are going to count over here in the NORPAC League. So that, depending on where the record is right now, that would put them, with one win over in the America West, that would put them ahead of Tri-Cities by 1 point if this was the end of the season. So that's important that they start getting some wins over there and continue winning over here to get ahead of Tri-Cities. And then we've got Bellingham with a total of 30 games played, 13 wins, 16 losses, 1 overtime loss for 27 points, tied with Glacier. And then Vancouver bringing up the bottom with 2 wins, 26 losses, and 4 points.
Tough year.
Tough
for,
year.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
But, again, and those that have listened to the games that we've called for the Vipers, those of you that have been here with us the last 2 weeks, again, this is really a rebuilding. It wasn't even a rebuilding season. There wasn't even going to be a season for Vancouver.
No, there wasn't. And in the last minute, the new owners, Keith and Bob, decided to take the team responsibilities on and put a team together within a few weeks.
Man, they had no scouting, no recruiting. They pretty much put the team together by phone calls and emails, and for all we know, maybe even Facebooking, just trying to get people to carry a Viper sweater.
I'm going to say that Facebooking had nothing to do with it, but that's an awesome idea that Ogden's got going on. Think outside the box for recruiting. You've got to these days. I can remember when my son Nick, who was a goalie, played in the NORPAC. There were 12 goalies that showed up for those camps that weekend. 12 goalies for 2 spots. These days, you're lucky to get 4. They had about 55 kids show up for skaters. And, you've got to work so much harder these days because there's just so many more teams out there that are looking for players. And it's, as we've said last week, and everybody knows, it's a pay for play. And those people that are coming in from out of town, they're going to have to bill it. They're going to have to pay even more.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Not
so
cheap.
There's currently 8 points separating 2nd through 5th in NORPAC. So as the season progresses, get a little bit closer to playoff time, we're going to have a much better picture of who's doing what and who's going home. Upcoming schedule, Eugene is over in Glacier this Friday, 7:35. These are huge games for Eugene, especially going over to Glacier, because Glacier has done very well in NORPAC this year. Not so great in the A-Dub, because they've only, I think, won 1 game in the A-Dub.
Correct.
And then they had 1, I think, shootout loss. So these are going to be huge for Eugene to kind of prevent Glacier from picking up, space on Tri-Cities. So Eugene's over in Glacier Friday, tomorrow, actually, January 25th. Bellingham, they're down here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing the Bellingham Blazers Friday and Saturday night down here at the Snake Pit in Vancouver. Then West Sound is over in Tri-Cities tomorrow evening, 6:30, I do believe. Puck drops there at the Toyota Center.
Yeah, it's the first time in quite a while we get 2 home games.
It's not
in a weekend.
Coach Laime actually referred kind of to that, where Western states, when you travel, you play 3 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This year in NORPAC, we barely had 2 games back to back.
Yeah, and it's tough to get in the groove. You'd like to have those 2 home games for a weekend, get those fans pumped, get the players pumped for playing 2 games in a row at home, and that just hasn't happened too much for the Vancouver Vipers this year.
For anybody, actually. I don't think it's really happened across the board, but it's going to be nice to see Bellingham tomorrow night and Saturday night. So that is your upcoming Friday game schedule. Now, Eugene and Glacier have split so far this season, 1-1, as both of those games were played in Eugene. So this is the old let's go over to Whitefish, Montana in the dead of winter trip for Eugene. Never a fun time.
No, they left bright and early this morning, so hopefully their bus ride was just uneventful.
Hopefully. Eugene's riding a 3-game winning streak right now. Glacier is on a 4-game winning streak. So one of those teams, that streak's going to go bye-bye.
Yeah. Good series this weekend. Be fun to watch if we had an opportunity. We'll have to follow it as we normally do on our game nights in between period updates with our intern Ryan.
So Eugene did come to Vancouver last Sunday on the 20th, outshot the Vipers 52-15.
Wow.
And that's what sort of the mainstay this year of the Vipers. They've been giving up a lot of shots. Interesting enough, though, GMT actually got pulled after giving up 3 goals on 9 shots.
Well, I remember those, and I'm sure you do too. The two of them were from the blue line, and one of them was just outside the top of the circle.
Yeah, they were kind of bouncy 5-hole type things.
Yeah.
So, that's not common. Gabe has had a fairly decent season, a little up and down, probably not nearly as consistent as he would like to be, but nonetheless, Eugene did pull out the win, got the points. So it's all good there. The offensive player of the week for NORPAC.
Yes.
Speaking of Eugene.
Is Hunter Hartman. He had a big weekend, recording 4 goals, 5 assists in Eugene's sweep of Tri-Cities and Sunday's win at Vancouver. Overall, he has 20 goals, 32 assists for 52 points. That's big.
That is huge. In
just 29 games this season. Joining teammate Zach Johnson as a general scoring leader as well.
Solid. That's a big 1-2 punch right there. Defensive player of the week actually goes to Mr. Wierzak of the West Sound Warriors goaltender, 18-year-old native of Comox, BC. Now Comox is up on the island, Vancouver Island.
Vancouver north, on the north end.
Yes, It is. And one of the reasons I'm really familiar with Comox is because my sister-in-law is from Comox and the Courtenay area. Beautiful part of Vancouver Island up there. So Wierzak picked up the defensive player of the week, doing very well. 37 saves in the Warriors' 5-3 win last weekend. Big kid, 6'3". So congratulations to Hunter Hartman and Wierzak for player of the weeks. And I didn't even know we were doing that. I just happened to run across this.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot to pull.
Well, when they do well, you want to definitely point out the kids that are being highlighted. And hats off to all those guys that are being highlighted. So that's going to bring us up to the next break right now, because I'm tired of talking.
I don't think that could ever happen.
Oh, yeah, it certainly does. Certainly does happen. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We are going to be getting who on the phone there special?
That's going to be Mike Butters.
Oh, boy. Hang on to your hats, folks, because we have no clue where this plane's going to land when we get Mike Butters on the phone.
Or how it's going to land.
It may wind up crashing for all we know. We're going to be back in just a bit, folks. Hang tight.
Proof that minimal education produces minimal results. Here they are once again, the BS Boys.
And we are back with our second segment here. And we've got Mike Butters on the line. Mike Butters. Mike, how are you tonight?
Fellas, how's it going?
Very, very well. Well, easy there with those knobs, so Steve.
That's not the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't know, Mike, you were going to yell at us. It scared me.
It's a new iPhone 5. They're amazing. It feels like I'm right there with you.
Holy smokes! Yeah, okay. That explains the whole going through the roof.
Yeah. So hey, Mike, 2011 Junior A Tier 3 National Champions. You beat El Paso 5-1. You've also been commissioner of NORPAC and current commissioner of the AWHL. You're also associated with some pro scouting. You also played in the Roller Hockey International League and the Pro Beach Hockey League, correct?
That is correct. Wow, with a plug like that, I don't need to do my own commercials anymore.
Hey, well, we're not done here, man. That Pro Beach Hockey, made for television by ESPN, and from what I can remember, I did remember some things from the Pro Beach, and I remember a gentleman by the name of Fatsy LeShaft who had this amazing celebration with, I think it was called the kayak.
Yeah, he's a real guy. Actually, buddies with Steve Levy at ESPN. He was telling me one time he was sitting at an establishment that serves adult beverages, if we can say that.
I like that.
And some guy came up to him and says, "Hey, Fatsy LeShaft, I know who he is. Like any, dope in the hockey world didn't know who it was. But he had it all figured out that it was an alter ego." That was actually funny. ESPN came to me the night before we started shooting and said, "Hey, we need to do an interstitial segment, and we need these 30-second segments. We need 28 of them. Go. You're on tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we put that together in about 6 hours, that whole thing.
Wow.
And we came up with an idea for the French know-it-all, because all the French hockey players are know-it-alls.
They do.
And
yeah.
put it all together. So, yeah, it was a blast. We had a blast doing that. The guy,
the guy that was the producer of the show is a guy named David McLean. He actually just said he just said I could do his impression, but it does no justice because nobody knows the guy. But he just basically wanted to take hockey, put it in the blender, and have hot chicks on the beach and rollerblading, and that's what he came up with, and got a bunch of some has-beens and never-wases to come out and play, and Marty McSorley was the original commissioner, and we just had a blast, and it was all made for TV, and we had a bunch of fun on the beach.
How long that last? How long did the whole Pro Beach stuff last?
Surprisingly, like 5 years.
Wow.
And this for the hockey purist, this is you're gonna cry right now. So get your towelettes out. But our ratings on Pro Beach hockey, our average rating share on ESPN was like a 3.9.
Wow.
And the highest rated NHL game ever on ESPN was a 2.4. And it's like, really? Like that sucks because I mean, although our show was fun, I mean, you know, if you love hockey, you're thinking, geez, we got to get a bigger audience for the sport.
Well, yeah, it might have had something to do with the skating girls on the beach with
the jamming
bikinis.
dancers,
Yeah.
man. That's why I watched it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were all volunteers, sure, yeah.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
Just like we are. We volunteer. Special Greg volunteers at this food line every Sunday morning.
Well, that's because they have great omelets.
That's because you eat all the food.
I help.
You bump all those poor ladies over in the little walkers and the wheelchairs looking for that ham omelet.
I take advantage of things when I can.
Twisted, sick little dog you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've been all over the map, man. I mean, you've done some acting. Some shows people may know, like me. Most they don't. But you got to play in the old Saw trilogy there, starting in 2004. How'd that come about?
Yeah. Well, my business partner and the guy I own the hockey team with in the rink here in Helena, Oren Kulis. I met him in LA and we played on the same hockey team together, and he ended up becoming my manager. And you have an agent, you know, in Hollywood, and you have a manager. And the manager basically just takes a bigger percentage, but he actually goes and finds jobs for you. Well, he bought the rights to the movie. He sent me this. He sent a courier to my house with this like 8-minute mini movie of the bear trap scene in Saw, and he says, "What do you think?" I said, "Oh, dude, I hate horror movies."
I'm right there with you.
I go, "Oh, it's sick," and he goes, "Yeah, I bought it." So he put up his own dough. He risked his money. And everybody that was represented by Oren, by a company called Evolution, which was Danny Glover, Terry Ellis, Dee Dee Meyer, all the original 12 actors in the first one, we all worked for nothing, for scale, to do it, right? And sometimes you do deals like that when you do movies, and then you get a piece of the back end. And originally, he wanted me to play Jigsaw. Well, if you saw the series, like they've done, I think it's 8 now, and they're probably going to do a couple more, just so they can set the record for most franchises by a movie. But I'm sure if they were making money, they wouldn't do it. But he offered me the role of Jigsaw, and I was like, well, you know, the guy in the first one, if you've seen the movies, he doesn't do anything. And so, you know, none of us knew that this thing was going to take off and be a hit or whatever. And so I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I never say no. I mean, I never say no to any jobs. And as you can tell, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
welcome to our show.
So he kind of exactly. But I'm waiting that buffet coupon too. By the way, I'm hoping that comes shortly.
Well, we're going to email that to you. Actually, we're FedExed by courier, and we're going to the Scale lunch line.
No, actually, I'm dropping it
that's
off
more
with
than
AJ.
The buffet itself, dude.
Well, that's because you only get the wrapper.
I digress.
Dude, you only get the wrapper. You don't get the food. Remember,
you only get the wrap.
Yeah, you only get the wrapper. It's kind of like stuffed with styrofoam. Remember the rice candy? Remember the rice candy where you could eat the paper?
Yeah,
that was my part of the candy.
I don't. I grew up in Canada, and we had like Macintosh toffee was our highlight.
And you guys had
Aero bars.
That, and also you didn't call them Smarties, you called them powder candy.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah. Come on.
We weren't that far off the beaten path.
Come on.
Wags, all that. We got force fed all the Commonwealth.
Very nice.
And all the brick.
And you had the wheel, the little tracks going down the middle of the road that the old stagecoaches used to come by, right?
We do. That's how I got to school every day.
And that's how they deliver the mail. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're twisted. I don't know why we have you on here, Mike. I'm not really sure. Our jobs might be in Oh, wait, this isn't a job.
Yeah, this is volunteer.
We're wasting people's time. So you were also
tonight only. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm just stepping all over you.
Oh no! So to finish, I was going to say tonight only. I've got to put a Z at the end of my name, I guess.
There you go. A Z instead of an S.
Well, wait a minute. Are you part of AFTRA?
Yeah, I am.
You idiot!
So
You're supposed
we won't
to.
tell them
No,
this
you
is a
say no.
non-union gig.
It's Butters with a Z, not an S.
Exactly. This is the stage name for the BS Boys tonight is Butters with a Z.
That's right.
Perfect.
So yeah, AFTRA and the whole SAG thing. Yeah, you're safe. You know why? Because number one, we're on the internet, and the FCC didn't really care. And AFTRA number two,
nobody listens.
No one listens. So we're really safe.
I think I'm getting one signal from a guy up in Seattle somewhere, though.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Stinger is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, listening in, writing down every single word we say.
Well, he's actually texting us.
If you want a transcript, you can probably have one for every show you guys have done.
Actually, the problem with him is we have to put it in Braille, and that's not very easy to do with him. You also got to play in the old D2, the Mighty Ducks. You were an uncredited Norwegian hockey player.
It's funny you bring those up. Those stellar credits.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
I played an 11-year-old boy as a 26-year-old man. No, when I was playing down in Anaheim in the roller hockey, they needed a bunch of guys to play the kids, and you're wearing face masks and anyway. So we all just did a bunch of extra work. That was like one of my first, I guess you'd call it, Hollywood gigs, and we just got called and to go out and do it, but. It kind of started right there in as far as the Hollywood stuff for the acting, it started in 93 from Anaheim. I did a couple national commercials, not even thinking that it meant anything. And true story, I got my first check. I did this Ocean Spray ad, and I got to be the guy to drink they call it the money shot, the paying money shot.
There you go.
But I got to drink the product, and I got my first check, and it was like $18,000. I called. I had to have an agent. I just knew a guy from hockey who knew a guy that was an agent. And that's how I got my first agent. And I called him. I said, "There's got to be a mistake. I think they gave me the money for the whole team because there's a bunch of guys from the hockey guys from the Bullfrog."
Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "This is what it's like." I got the bug right there at that. So I started doing a lot. Like most of the work for the first 3-4 years was hockey.
Yeah.
Like if they needed hockey, needed a hockey player in a TV show or something, I'd be that guy. And I could hit my mark on a piece of tape and say my line, and that's probably a lot more than a lot of people can do in that business, unfortunately. There's some very good people, but there's also some hacks. And so I just started taking classes and started branching out and getting more and more. Like Saw was probably my 30th, 40th picture.
Nice.
So, it was, but that one came to be probably one I've been seeing in more. I've played, what we used to do to get credits was all the film students at UCLA and USC and stuff, you'd do a bunch of free movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do those and you build up tape and then you send those to directors, just like hockey, you kind of have to audition like in hockey, same kind of thing, try out. And so you get a reputation or a name and never had to spend one day on the casting couch, I'm pretty fortunate.
Well, I've seen a picture of you, and that's a good thing.
I feel sorry for the guy that would want me on his cast.
No kidding. It's kind of like Street Bike Tommy and Travis Pastrana stuff.
What's that great saying? The guy's got a great face for radio.
That's right. Just like us.
Now that's why we're doing what we do. Where were you when we were doing Strange Brew then? If you wanted to do kind of the hockey stuff, where were you when we were hacking around Strange Brew?
I was still playing then. I was still bouncing around the minor leagues.
Okay.
When I finished with juniors, I went over and played a year in Europe, and then because I was undrafted, unsigned, and then I came back over, started in East Coast League for 1 year, and went up to the IHL from there. Back then, the IHL was AAA. Played in Fort Wayne, and it's funny, I was like 22, 23 years old. One of the Detroit scouts, Phil Muir, was goalie for the Atlanta Flames, probably best known guy, but he played in the NHL forever. Came to a game and saw me play and said, he was interested. He told my coach at the time, Al Sims, and Simsy asked me the next day at practice, he goes, "Hey, Detroit was here to see you last night. They're very impressed. How old are you, Butts?" Like, he didn't even know. And I said, oh, I think I was 22 at the time. I said, I'm 22. He goes, oh, no. I go, what? He goes, well, I just figured you're like 30, because I had the receiving hairline and everything. He said, I better call him back. So he called him back, and then when they found out, they brought me into camp the next year, and I spent the next few years with their farm club, and then was traded to Quebec and finished up there in Halifax and New Haven with their American League teams.
Yeah, you definitely had quite a run. I mean, from 89 to, 96-ish, something like that. You kind of bounce around. 91 and 92 wasn't all that great of a year. Right? Yeah, 4 teams in one season. What's up with that?
That was a tough one, dude. And I always think the other team wanted me more.
You know what, though? No. It's not the other team wanted you more. You know what it is? No.
I'm learning that now.
The team you were on wanted you less.
Hey, I prefer to think I prefer to think of it as the positive way.
That would be you, but see, yeah. I'm kind of the yin to your yang. Yes. I am definitely. They just didn't want you, brother. They wanted you gone. No, how was that to handle, though? Seriously, how was it to handle 4 teams in one season?
Honestly, I never really looked at it like that. I mean, the way I approached the game was I was fortunate enough to even get to that high a level because I wasn't a very skilled guy. Like some guy asked me a little while ago. I was doing an interview. He said, "Where would you picture yourself now? With today's rules?" And I said, "Right next to you, like calling the game because I wasn't good enough." I mean, So I looked at it like this: whoever wanted me, I was there. I had no attachments. And I just outlasted. I had a lot of buddies growing up that were much better players than I was. And I just stuck to it, and they just kind of fell by the wayside and wouldn't spend another year in the minors and keep going. And I never would have gotten to the movies and stuff had it not been for an injury. But I enjoyed every second I was there. And, you have highs and lows, and getting traded sucks. But it happens so quickly in the pros, especially at the AAA level or that, because you get traded on Tuesday and you're expected in the lineup on Wednesday, and you go and you play and you meet new guys, and it's done, right? And I don't know. I'm not one of those guys that said, oh, they just treat us like pieces of meat. Well, yeah, we were. We got paid, and I got that, and I was okay with that. You ask most guys during that era to play, they would have played for nothing. And they don't say that, but it really was. You get everything taken care of, and back then, you had a legitimate chance. There were so few minor league teams that you had a legitimate chance of going up. Like I was a black ace a couple of years when Quebec had its cup run and lost to Montreal. I got called up as a black ace. You go up and you practice. You don't play or anything like that. And just to spend time around that was phenomenal. So I don't have any regrets or any bad feelings about trades. But it was. I had a Mercury Topaz. I hate to name drop it. How cool my car was back then. But I had a Topaz, and that thing just got the miles run on it all over the place from moving from place to place.
Well, the chance, though, you had, a lot of people don't get, and you sort of lived that dream as long as you could. And then, you did you went into the acting thing, which is awesome because it is like an adult playground. You get paid to play other people and to do things that you can't get away with out in public. And so really, I mean, living the dream goes even a little bit further because then you were a minority owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, where was
No, I wasn't any part of the ownership. It was actually my manager, Oren, my buddy.
Okay.
He bought the team. He bought the team with Lenny Berry. Had asked me to come on and essentially just do whatever it took. Originally, I went from being the minor league GM to pro scout, like in a matter of, I don't know. Well, the first year I set up the minor league system for the American League team, in Norfolk, and we didn't have an East Coast affiliate, so I set that up in Augusta, and all it took was those people to give us a couple rounds of golf, and it was easy to say yes to them. But set that all up, and then once it was up and running, moved into pro scouting. But I was more there just to kind of watch his back and learned as I go. It learned as I went, and it's amazing just how they operate. And I learned a lot and started applying a lot of those things to our junior club here, and even moving it through the league and saying, this is what I got to see firsthand day to day, how much attention to detail there is with the training and the preparation for the players. And it's not hard stuff. It's just a lot of stuff that's done. And if teams have not just the financial wherewithal, but if they just have a little bit of oomph in them and hard work, they can do it. So we don't do exactly what we do in Tampa. We couldn't afford to do it here in Helena, but we do a lot of the same things and a lot of the preparation and detail with the training of the guys and stuff, at least at this level. And, you know, we're at the Tier 3 level. It's not like we're getting the best players to play, but we're getting the right players, at least, to come to our program that want to improve their game and get better, you know?
And that was one of the things that there's two things that one quote that I want to say, and this is something that you had said a while ago. A true winner hates to lose more than he loves to win. And sort of the Helena thing is it's not for everybody. I've heard that over and over and over again, that Helena is not for everybody. What kind of explain what that means so people understand what isn't it for some people?
You know, that's a catchphrase we use in recruiting with all of our recruits, and it's not just a cliche. I mean, it truly is. We say two things. It's not for everybody, and it takes a special player to play here, and it's because of those detailed things that we do during our day. I mean, we keep our guys busy from sun up to sundown, and a lot of teams tell you that, and they're full of crap, and they don't do it. And we said if we were going to be successful, that we actually have to, you know, that old saying, do what you say and say what you do. So, you know, things like having a strength and conditioning guy. We really have it. We have a guy that does it for the National Guard. He's also our medical guy. But the guys are at the gym, mandatory workouts 3 days a week, and then they have, we call them optionals, but they all go, right? We have a couple workout facilities they can go to, and they go, you know, we put them through their paces. So we have a team regimented workout plan, and then we have an individual plan. That, and then just we kind of hold our guys to a higher standard in town. They're guys coming into town for a year, 2 years, maybe 3, and we're in a small town where you're under the microscope. So we expect our guys, you know, when they're on the bus, they can wear their hats on backwards or sweats down to their kneecaps. It doesn't matter. But when they get off the bus, you know, they're not wearing hats. They're dressed. You can call it, some guys call it old school. I just call it simple respect for the game and respect for yourself. And it's not, again, it's not for everybody. We usually find out in a month or so, and then the practices too. It's not like we bag skate guys every day, but we run a very high tempo practice, and we expect guys on Monday morning or Monday afternoon at 2:45 to be going just as hard then as they are Friday night at 7:30 when we're going. So, you know, I've got a fantastic coach in Scott Cunningham, and he holds these guys accountable for all their actions and just all of that oversight, you know, and then there's the education side of it too. Without getting too much into it, we make sure that these guys give themselves every opportunity to be college eligible, and sometimes the difference makers in grades. With all things being equal, the coaches will look to grades for being the deciding factor. So we lean on them pretty hard. Like it's, you know, it's just, that's why we say we don't have a lot of rules, but we have a lot of structure.
Well, you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I was just sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, Mike. But you mentioned standards earlier, and the America West has a standards of excellence league wide. Can you talk to us about that and what it is?
Yeah, when you know the secession, everyone had such bitter feelings over it. Actually, the people in the room really didn't. But when we seceded from NORPAC, we started implementing some of those standards in NORPAC, and just some of the ownership groups aren't set up to meet those standards. So this thing was in the planning for 3 or 4 years, and we developed a set of standards that was higher than the baseline of USA Hockey minimum. The minimum standards of USA Hockey are X, and ours are 3X, and in some cases they're 5X or 7X. And it's like minimum hours of practice on the ice, mandatory education supervisor, all of their grades are submitted, workout plans, individual plans, fitness testing, concussion impact study. All of these things add up to one general thing: is that we're putting a set of guidelines out there. They're not even guidelines; they're rules. They're hard standards that any parent of a player that plays junior hockey, we were the first ones to do it. The USHL introduced their standards about 6 months later. And we didn't do it to be exclusionary. We wanted other leagues to adopt these standards, but we set the bar pretty high and said, this is what we're going to do. This is how much we're going to charge. And this is what you get whether you play for the Helena Bighorns that are in first right now or Bozeman that's in last right now. And that can change from any given time. Any given year, some teams get better, some teams, they fall back and they pick it up. But, we had an incident last year at Great Falls where they got off to a poor start. I think they were 0-19, which was awful. They made a coaching change. They knew they had to make adjustments. I froze the roster, and of course, everybody when you fire a coach, whether it's at pro or they just want to leave, right? And so we froze the roster. I had an opportunity to talk to virtually every parent of the players that were there, and I asked them these things. I said, Are they getting regular workouts? Are they getting education supervision? Are these things? And all of them had glowing reports about, the billet families. Like, we go in, we don't just take a list of 20 families that want to house kids. We go in, we inspect the homes, we do background checks. Some people think it's intrusive, but we do financial checks because we want our kids to live in good homes that really for $300 a month, that's what the billets get paid.
Right.
I mean, you have kids, they can eat that in a week.
Yeah.
So they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it, they're doing it for, just for doing it, doing the goodwill to the community. So the guys, the cool thing and the rewarding thing for us, and I know it sounds hokey, but it's true. It's when you see the guy come out after a year, and you get a call from the parents, and I say like, hey, how's so and so, and they tell you, man, he's a different kid. Like he's respectful. He does this. He does that. He does the dishes at home, and that's not just with our league and our program. It happens everywhere, but we mandate that our teams continually set the bar to be better and better, and it's a tough world out there, man. There's so many teams expanding in junior hockey. What's going on in junior hockey is a joke. Just anyone that's got $15,000 in a rink can have a team now, and that's got to change. If we're going to get healthier as a group, and U.S. born players, we've got to get healthier and probably contract, and through attrition, we'll get stronger. You look at the North American League; they're expanding like crazy, and eventually there's not enough players to fill that pool. And I think if you look around, I mean, you guys are propeller heads like me. You go around the net and surf the teams and see who's got what. You look at this year's rosters, and not everybody has a full roster of 25 guys anymore. And that's a problem.
Well, wasn't that one of the things that was brought up at the winter meetings, USA Hockey winter meetings? Did they express an interest in expanding the Tier 3 level out west?
Well, the NA3 did.
Yeah.
Our position in the America West League is that we want controlled growth. I mean, we only want to grow when we have to, and not because everyone else is doing it, and to compete, with the AAU, and we all know the Western States split off, and they've got their deal going, and that's fine. 2 years ago, we went to their showcase. They put on a fantastic event. They had 50 guys. Like, my own eyes, I saw 50, 55 legitimate D3 or D1 scouts at the event. So it was a very well-run event. I know they're kind of sliding into a different direction with imports, and they've talked about maybe, bumping their age up to 21, but at least in their infant season or their initial season last year, they ran a good product. And it's not that, sure, we're competing against those guys, but the whole philosophy, I mean, look at the Roman Empire. They got too big, and look what happened. They petered out. You're sitting in, I don't know, Glasgow, Scotland, and you wonder what the heck you're fighting for, and because you've never been to Rome.
Right.
It's that kind of thing. There's so many teams that are just everywhere, and USHL, you know what you're getting. The NA, you pretty much know what you're getting. In Tier 3, it's the garage sale of hockey. You've got some true treasures and some good finds and great programs, and then you've got some, terrible programs that they should not be hockey operators. And the onus on the parents, it's so tough because, you might as well, in hockey, you might as well take the word recruiting and throw it out the door and call it lying or embellishing. Because in the summertime, when you're a parent getting recruited by these teams, they're telling you this, and it's going to be great, and we have this, and we have that, and we have goalie coaches, and then you get there, and none of it's there. But because of the player protection rules, you can't go and try it out for a couple weeks and say, hey, this is one I expected. I want to try somewhere else. I'm of the position, I've been presenting it to the junior council now for a few years, is that despite player agreement, I understand there has to be player agreements and all that in place, especially pay to play hockey, but the kids themselves and the players, they should be able to test drive a program. And they should have like a window, a 2-week window, or maybe, 5 games or something, that gives time for adjustment. So if it's not the right fit, then you can make the move. And we have that same problem in Helena. We have some very talented players that come into Helena, and it's not the right fit. You know, either they're not liking what they're seeing, it's too hard on them, or it's too much structure for them, and they just want to have fun. Not that we don't have fun, but you know what I mean? Like some guys are a little motivated, and they like that structure, and guys telling them when to get up, when to go, when to be there. And there's other guys that don't. They like to freewheel a little bit. And not to say some of the programs are not. I mean, you have the Dallas Cowboys, you have the Oakland Raiders, right, back in the heyday. You had Tom Landry, and you had John Madden. John Madden was like, as long as you show up, I don't care what color your cowboy boots are, show up and play. And Tom Landry had, you know, suits and ties and everything. And not to say either program or the direction was wrong. It's just whichever philosophy you kind of fall under, you know.
Well, you're also creating, I think, with this whole standard of excellence mentality, and sadly, it's not more widespread. You know, yeah, you're creating hockey players, but you're creating responsible, mature individuals to carry on after hockey with these kind of guidelines and things that they have to do the rest of their life.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have an alumni association we created 2 years ago, and we had one of our former players that is a big computer software sales guy now, and he's making huge dig. I'm just as happy as him as, you know, a guy that made it to the NHL, or a guy that's playing in American League or Pro or college or wherever he is now. I'm just as happy for those guys. And we got to compile a bunch of info on our alumni guys, and they call us and they tell us what's going on. And you know, I'm just as happy to say, like, a player from our first year in Helena when we were Tier 2, Bryce Dale is the head coach of Fresno right now in the Western States. I'm just as proud to say that, you know, he came out of our system and he got enough out of hockey, had a great Division I career, and then he went on to coach, and now he's in Fresno working his way up, and we'll do whatever we can to help him. But you're right. It's like you know, the guy I had in junior, I played for a guy in the Saskatchewan League before I went to the Dub, Jerry James. Jerry won Stanley Cup and a Grey Cup in the same year, and he was the hardest a-hole you ever... I wouldn't even say that. It's the wrong way. He was just a hard ass, right? We may not have liked him, but we respected him. We respected him, and I learned more about life from him than I ever did about hockey. And I learned a ton of hockey from him. And I remember I got my first NHL preseason game. I'm in the training room, and I called him. And typical Jerry James, I called him. I said, "Hey, Jerry, I just want to tell you I'm playing my first NHL preseason game. I want to thank you for everything you did for me." He goes, "What? The NHL wants you? Are they nuts?" You know, that's the way he was, right?
Makes you feel real good, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we kind of, that's our philosophy here, is we don't lean on the guys to where we're mean to them. We lean on them because we want them to be better players and better people every day they get up. You know, we have a saying at practice. It's like, let's get better today. Let's get better today. And it's just that constant challenge, you know. And you look at it, we've had a lot of success, and we're very happy about that. But my coach doesn't talk about winning. We don't emphasize winning in Helena. We just emphasize doing your best. And the byproduct of that is obviously wins and losses, right? But it doesn't drive our bus. What drives us is guys wanting to get better, because we've had great players fall by the wayside. Last year, our leading scorer at Christmas, we sent him home. And he's tied for the league in scoring. He had 50 points at Christmas, and he just wasn't buying into our off-ice, shall we say, social plan. And we had to send him home. And we'll do it. You know, it may have cost us wins, but the grand scale of things is we became a better team and stronger as a unit because of it. And we don't always have the best players here, but we have the right players, you know, to play here. And again, some guys are listening at home. Those guys who take pot shots at us on the chat rooms. It's, you know, their kids have never spent a day in Helena, and those are a lot of the parents we talk to when we say, "Hey, this probably isn't for you. If your expectations are, you know, X of your kid, this is not how it works here."
Do you watch the chat rooms? Do you see all the stuff being written about you guys?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I know. I fix games. I console with referees, and I have my hand on the joystick according to all these people. I laugh at it, but you know, indifferent to a lot of other commissioners and a lot of other people in the administrative side of hockey, I admit it. I go to those chat rooms and I read them, because sometimes they get facts wrong, and if they do, I'll say the facts. I have one of my favorite sayings. I wish I invented it. I never did. Don't let the facts get in the way of your opinion. You know, like a few weeks ago, we had a guy taking shots. Oh, Helena, they load up on 20-year-olds every year and blah, 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 blah. So I said, really, don't let the facts get in the way of, your opinion. This year, Gillette has 13. Missoula has 6. Billings has 5. XXX. Helena has 4. And so those are the numbers. Numbers don't lie. There's been seasons when we've had 9 or 10 20-year-olds. And then they say, well, you're not developing players. You're just taking a bunch of old guys. Well, you know what? Again, I'll say it again. If we have a 17-year-old that plays for us 1 year and goes to the Dub or goes to, the NA or the BC or USHL, that's awesome. But if we have a 20-year-old that we get into college, that's just as awesome. So development is such an overused word. Everyone says, oh, yeah, we develop. Any kid that steps on the ice doesn't even need a coach on there. He just needs to go on the ice and skate and screw around with the puck. He's developing, So we just try to structure it a little bit, and I don't care if a guy's 20 or if he's 16. If he's good enough and he wants to get better and is willing to sacrifice some of his social time, because they do, something's got to give, right? In any young man's, I know how we were in junior, and you've got to set the good programs and the ones that continue to, do well. Those players have to sacrifice a lot of social time, and some aren't willing. And hats off to them. If they're just in for a good time, that's great, and they want to play hockey and it's fun. I can give you a laundry list of programs you can go to. But if you want to, if you want to sacrifice a little bit of your social time to improve your game, and that might be the difference between a low-end D3 or a club team and maybe a high-end D3 and even possibly a D1. We had a player 2 years ago. You guys know him, Anthony Petruzzelli.
Petruzzelli,
yep. 2 years ago. He was our Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. Last year he was the Rookie of the Year in Alberta. He just committed to Vermont. And the mentality in the States, I have to listen to this at the junior council meetings. I just roll my eyes, and people are on about, well, how come this team take credit for his going to this school? The mentality in Canada is nobody cares as long as, right from the NHL all the way down to Pee Wee, everybody gets credit for the move up along the way. The Pee Wee team, the Bantam team, the midget team, the junior team, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of the mentality we come from. Did we put him into Vermont? No. Anthony Petruzzelli put himself into Vermont because he was dedicated to the game and wanted to get better. And we knew he was a one-and-done guy at our level. And that's fine. That's great. And we knew he was good enough that, he's the kind of kid that just kind of figures it out. He figures out first 10 games he might have 2 points. The next 10 he'll have 25 points. He just figures out the level and how he needs to exceed at it, and he's done that all the way through youth hockey. And he's a West Coast kid who I love. I love those kids.
Well, without Helena, though, he may not have made it to the up to the AJ. It's there's stepping stones all along the way, and everyone has everyone gets a piece of that kid's success, not as a whole, but as one piece of his puzzle. I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but there's so many guys that get hung up on that, and I put them here and I moved them there. It's like, no, you didn't. The kid did it. You just lent a hand and supplied him with the tools he needed at that time to get there. Do we have the same training or the same philosophies as Brooks? Say, like, Brooks is an amazing story in the Alberta League, because if you've ever been to Brooks, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, you can stand on a Coke can in Calgary and see Brooks. It's just in the middle of nowhere. It's the small town, and they just created this little program. They're ranked number 1 in junior hockey right now in Canada, and they've created that program. We adopted a philosophy when we first came here, even when we were in Tier 2. We were one of the smallest market teams. If you look at nationals, I think we've been there, 7 of the last 8 years or 8 of the last 9. We're the smallest market team that goes to nationals every year. That has been there. In the year we won it, we're playing teams like St. Louis and El Paso and stuff. And we all know the kids come from all over, but it's tough. People say, oh, yeah, it's really easy to recruit in Helena. It's like, no, it's actually tougher, because we've got 7 teams in our league recruiting against us, and we've got how many hundreds of teams, I say hundreds, but how many dozens of teams in Tier 3 that are recruiting against us. They'll find the things wrong with your program before they find the merits in theirs. And they share that, and it's so subjective to these parents. I mean, I used to take the stance, it's like, shame on the parents, shame on you for not doing your homework. But now I've taken a stance. It's like I can't encourage them to do their homework enough. But at the end of the day, first of all, I'll say this too. Parents don't take enough involvement in their son's decisions when it comes to things like playing junior hockey. Well, how many times have you heard a parent say, I just leave it up to my kid? And it's like, no, you don't leave it up to your kid because he's 18 years old or 17 or 19. He doesn't have the mental wherewithal in his makeup yet as a person to ask the questions that you've learned as 40 or 50 years on the planet. And the kids all come in with one thing a goal in mind. They all want to play at the highest level. Most of the kids, when we were in the Tier 2 level, they still had aspirations of the NHL. A little different in Tier 3. I think most of these guys have set the highest goal for themselves as maybe D1, but realistically a good D3 program. And so we have to adopt that. It'd be nice to say we get all the best players. We don't. We lose recruits all the time, and it just drives us nuts because we know, at least we believe, what we're doing works, and we're just upset that they don't believe it or they don't see it.
But
so that's kind of fuels our fire every day.
Is recruiting easier though? For you guys with the Helena Bighorns, when you can show them the national championships that you won, in the past NORPAC America West Division championships in 05, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 2010, and then you won the NORPAC Cascade Cup 5 times, and then what you're doing in the America West as well. I mean, does recruiting get any easier when you show them that? And you guys have had pretty much the same team. The hockey staff, I should say.
We don't really show them that though. When we recruit players, we don't really focus on the championships and the wins and stuff like that. We focus on the number of guys we've moved to higher levels. And that's something that's on our website, and that's something that I don't update for a full year. We're a year behind because I want to make sure that if we put John Smith, if we put him on and he's going to Canisius College, that he's played there for a full season. It just maybe I'm wacky for doing it that way, but it's just what I believe. It's because how many times do you see it on? There's a team that used to be in NORPAC that's no longer there. 13 college commitments, and then you go check them a month into the college season, and there's 2 guys that are at the schools that they said they were going to go to. And those, again, it goes to the homework to the parents. It's like we want to be accurate in what we say, and we don't want to have any mistruths or any embellishment on what we do. But no, if the kid's looking at it, well, I'll give you an example. We get calls every year from players that, mid-season, things aren't going well, they're maybe a bottom-feeding team, not in our league, in other leagues. And they say, well, we want to, it's my last year of junior, I want to come here and be a winner. Well, that's only one half of the equation. The other half is you have to be able to be a part of that. You have to contribute to that. And just as much as we say we do this and we structure this and that, our players and our alumni, there's this, I don't want to call it pressure, but it's kind of there because you see the banners when you go in the rink. It's like, almost 3/4 full with banners across the wall. And the year we won nationals, and every year we go into playoffs, the captain of the last year's team calls the captain of this year's team. And they might not even know him, and we didn't even know this was going on for like 4 or 5 years. Well, they always call the captain. They go, hey, you don't want to be the captain. You don't want to be that guy of the team that didn't get it done. Because we've got it done 7 years in a row or whatever it is. You don't want to be that guy. So the players put a lot of pressure on themselves that fuels them to succeed. And are we going to win every year? Of course not. Nobody does. But it's nice to have that alumni group. And a lot of teams, you see the lifespan of a hockey team and a junior hockey team, especially in the lower level you go down, the less life expectancy you see, right? So we've been around 12 years in Canada. That's a blip on the screen in Tier 2 hockey. In the U.S. in Tier 3, it's a long time. And so we've been able to establish an alumni that cares about maintaining that pride we have in putting the Bighorn jersey on and what that means to a player and what it means to our alumni. And it puts, you know what I mean? So that's part of the recruiting process, too, is that we'll get former players to call players that we're working on. And we always tell parents, like, pick any player at random on our team, and we'll give you the number of his parents. Ask them. We don't want to select which people we want to tell you to talk about our program. We'd like to, but to be fair and to get a good, honest, because there's some parents that hate our program. They didn't, their kids did not excel here, and they didn't like it here. And if they called them, they're going to tell you that. But they're also going to tell you why. They're going to tell you it was very tough on them, and they were maybe too strict on them, and this and that. We've had parents, with curfew and stuff, they lie for their kids, and it's like, what message are you sending to your kid when you're covering something up just so he can play in a Friday night in a Tier 3 hockey game?
Oh, exactly.
The life,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's better to say, well, you're going to sit out Friday, you miss curfew. It's probably not going to happen again, because the one hammer that we have on the kids, or the players, is playing time. Everybody wants to play. And that goes back to your conversation about recruiting. Not everybody wants to come here. We actually have talked about it in the last 2-3 years. We know when Scotty and I call a player and we've got them on the phone and mom and dad on the phone, there's a little bit of fear factor in there that they're afraid that they might not succeed by coming here. And that's something that we've got to work around or work through, because they can. Any player of any moderate ability can come in here and succeed. We've had players that have the skill level of a gnat and can come in here and succeed very well and end up coming out the other side of it. If we take the one thing I say about Scotty is he takes horrible players and he makes them okay, and he takes okay players and makes them good, and makes good players great, and great players are exceptional, right? He does. Like, the level of improvement and the arc of our players' improvement over the season it's awesome. I mean, I love seeing it. I don't coach my team, and I coach in the pros and that. I don't coach it. Scott coaches because he does a better job than I do. I just move cones around at practice. I go on the ice with the guys, but I move cones around. I work more one-on-one with the guys about details in their game. Scotty's got the overall picture in mind, and he just, any good coach, you can see in a coach, you know how a coach can take a team and they just don't look organized. You watch the first 10 games of the season, and you're like, oh, geez, here we go again. But a coach can mold that, and he's not just the only guy. I mean, there's some guys in NORPAC right now. I'm looking at some of their teams. Like, you look at Bellingham. They started out with just kind of a ragtag group of Sergeant Bilkos. And Collins has taken those kids, and he's kind of really got something, he's got something going. He's got a little momentum, and I think those guys will make a run.
Yeah, we've got them in town this weekend for the first time, so it's going to be fun to watch the two teams play.
Hey, we just want to make mention that you're listening to the Mike Butters talk show.
That's Butters with a Z.
If you'd like to call Mike.
Another conversation I didn't like. Yeah.
Well, we actually left and went and got coffee, came back, and you were still talking.
Yeah, like it's never happened before.
It's kind of like the Twilight Zone, man.
Mike is right. Yeah.
I'm massively confused.
I got it from my aunt Margarita. I used to come home. My aunt used to spend the weekends at our house when I was a kid. I'd come home from the bar, and she'd have a conversation with my mom, who was asleep on the couch, and she was still yakking away. And I'd give her the token,
nod the head.
And then I'd go to bed, get up in the morning, and she'd still be talking.
Yep.
So
I got one of those too. I have
the Butters team.
Yeah, the good thing about this is we won't have to talk to you again for another season, because we pretty much caught up on everything that Mike Butters wants to tell you, with the rumors, has-beens, has-nots, and everything else, man.
Well,
the one thing, it's funny you mention rumors, because hockey's the smallest knitting circle.
Yeah.
And you hear the what-ifs and the rumors of all these things going on, and it's something that some ownership groups, they get it, and they keep their laundry to themselves, because every team has internal problems, right? Every family has internal problems. But we don't want to be, the ones that are out there whining about our partners who have, a pregnant daughter, a teenage daughter or something. We keep our laundry in house as a league. We've got a great set of partners. They all, for the most part, buy into the deal. And sometimes you got to make tough decisions. 2 years ago, Yellowstone wanted to come in, and we were like, you're just not getting it as a group. We don't think you do. They've got a phenomenal team. They've changed their coaches around, and they bought into it. Glacier's coming in next year. I know they're playing in the pack right now, and I know it's a geography thing and that, but we sat down with those guys and we said, look, as a league, it's tough for you to have partners that you're competing against and say, hey, your penalty minutes are too high, or hey, you're taking too many misconducts or too many majors and stuff. And the way it is in today's game, you can't have knuckle draggers on any team anymore because those guys got to play. You know, they have to be able to play. I mean, you're not going to be a knuckle dragger in junior hockey and expect to go to college and play and get your education partially paid for or fully paid for, right?
Right.
So the rumors just promulgate like bad behavior. And the other thing is, like, you know, teams, some owners, we're all close to the game. The lower level you go, the closer you are to the game. You don't see NHL guys, you know, owners hanging over the glass yelling at the refs.
Right.
But at our level, it happens. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parents
and
going
there's a
nuts.
passion because, yeah, I actually laugh. I mean, we have nicknames for a lot of the owners in the leagues just because, you know, we've got a Thurston Howell and we've got a John Madden. We call them by nickname. We have guys who just go up absolutely bananas. But if teams, it's a longer approach to being successful. But if you take that stance that you're not going to put up with any garbage from players, no matter how the ability is, and this is the problem with expansion. Like, I could go on for days about this. I know you guys want to wrap it up, but expansion right now. That if I have a hot button right now, it's the saturation of the game, because it's not fair for good players to play with, you know, players that probably shouldn't be playing at this level. And when the college guys, like when I was out on the road with Tampa, I rarely saw any amateur games, but I went to college games. I covered the Midwest, all the NHL clubs and their American League clubs. And then I would go in for visits on college free agents. So I talked to the D1 coaches, and they said, you know, when they go to certain leagues now, they said we can't even tell who's good anymore because they're not playing against guys that are equally as good or better. You know,
when you dilute the talent pool, it just gets hard. So I mean, almost impossible to roster a team. And like you say, you're putting, you know, possibly somebody that can afford to pay to put their kid on the team versus a kid that has all this ability in the world, can't find a place, or goes on a team that is absolutely dogpile because there's 30 teams at the same level grabbing just bits and pieces of stuff.
And it makes...
I know. They get desperate.
Yeah.
It makes recruiting harder.
The NA, I mean, we got guys, I mean, and I'll say it, and I know it sounds brash, but I say it. I mean, there are 4 or 5 teams in our league. I'd like to think every team now. We're not quite there yet, but there's 4 or 5 teams in our league that I know that operate to a higher standard than some of the teams in the higher leagues. And that's, it doesn't mean they're better. It doesn't mean the players are better, but they operate to a higher standard. They get workout facilities that are just state of the art, and the players can leave their gear in the locker room and stuff like that. You hit it on the head, man. There's like, you have to find the best 25 guys that can pay.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, there's guys out there that can't. But, you know, I've never begrudged North American Hockey League expansion for the sake of the kids that you're offering a kid a free opportunity to play. I mean, and that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
There's some teams like ours that can't afford to do that. We just can't do it. We just don't have the infrastructure or the base to do it.
Right.
At one time we did in the early 2000 stuff when we were in Tier 2. We never had a problem like making a buck, but we also had 1,100 people paid every night, and we were able to, you know, our travel was minimalized. And when we merged with the NA, our travel budget went from like $20,000 to $118,000 in 1 year, and we're like, wow, that's a real number. So we had to bolt. Billings, Bozeman, and us said, that's it. We can't do it. And we were very fortunate that NORPAC was willing to take us on. I think it was 1 year at a time. We came in and Butte was in. They were the only team. And then Bozeman came in the next year and Billings came in the next year. And I saw it coming. I mean, I don't see a lot of things, but I saw the demise of Tier 2 hockey in our area because it just became too expensive. And you know, for $5,500, you have some parents that are just willing to gladly, you're going to take my kid and I don't have to look after him for a year and it's costing me $5,000. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing with the parents, like they got to get more involved, and that attrition is going to make the game stronger. And it doesn't mean to say like, okay, so Vancouver's back on the map now. Those guys worked their butts off, and it's their first year, and they're struggling, but they're good-hearted guys, and they made it work so they'd have enough teams to make it work for NORPAC this year, and they're going to improve, and they're going to get better. It's not saying get rid of those guys.
Right.
It's the guys that are just apathetic. They don't care. Like, I know Chuck Cheshire, the cat. Sure. He loves those kids, and he puts his time and effort into it. I mean, if if he hadn't done it this year, I would have called him and said, hey, get your frequent flyer miles together and come out to Helena every weekend, and we'd love to have you. We'll give you a coat and whatever you want, because those kind of guys are invaluable to the game. They love it. They wear it on their sleeve. I shouldn't say they blow a lot of money, but they invest a lot of money that they're never going to get back. And not a lot of parents and kids, players really see that. Like, there's some good operators in every single league. You just got to get rid of those donkeys. You get rid of those guys, and it makes for a better game on and off the ice.
Well, those types of guys are kind of sadly going away. Okay, so before you take another breath, Mike, we're going to hang up on you. No,
I got the segue 15 minutes ago. I just stretched it out.
Dude, I'm telling you.
You're good.
I usually don't have to edit these shows, but I'm going to be up until about, 4:30 tomorrow morning editing all of this. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I did my best, Allen Iverson. But guys, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I listen to the show, so you're not speaking to dead air.
No, it's people like you, Mike.
It's gonna grow, man.
I'm telling you, it's people like you that kind of help in the infancy in this aspect of it. Really, just kind of Greg and I doing this on our own, going, we got to throw something out there. Guys like you, guys like AJ, guys like Jordan Owen up at Tri-City, guys
Mike Stanaway, John McBride,
Murph up in Seattle. That's the base this is going to be built from. And we are going to love having you guys on time and time again to catch up on what's going on and fill us in on every little, things that you guys know about to help, like Greg and I sound like we know what we're actually talking about. So we're going to, we're going to cut this off, but I want an invite from you. We want to pop out to Helena sometime and catch a game out there and do it up big time.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got the Skybox waiting for you. We have the Skybox and the Ghettotron. We do like the scaled down version of the premium luxury suite.
I like it.
We call it the Ghetto Box. But you guys, when you give me some notice and popcorn and pretzels on me.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, you got to see again. You guys got to come out and see what the league's about and stuff like that. Because truly, you always say that, but when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I spent the last 2,000 minutes blabbing about. But really, it is, because you got guys that care about the game, and you guys are an integral part of that, because you report it, and people listen to you, and they may not always agree with you like me, but it's out there, and now it's viral now, and everyone can listen to it, and hopefully a few people latch onto it, and it just starts growing, because we need this in the West Coast. There's less and less players playing the sport. There's more players going to Canada. We got to keep them at home. You got a good base of teams now in the pack. We got it out here in the America West, and there's some good teams down in California. So we just got to keep our kids home, developing.
I understand, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely understand.
Mike, before we do go, real quick, you've got a LinkedIn request coming in from me, so make sure you accept that.
I'll have my people get back to your people.
There you go.
I will.
Actually, I'm his people right here.
You're his people?
I'm his people. Yeah. Deny it.
All right, guys. I truly appreciate having me on, and anytime. And if you need, any info, by all means, email me, call me, smoke signals, whatever works best for you. I'll get back to you.
We'll just start the 73 Pinto up and face it kind of like east, and you'll see the smoke signals.
I can smell it from here.
Burning oil. Hey,
okay,
thanks, Mike. We really appreciate the time.
Okay, take care. Best of luck, guys.
There it is, Mike Butters. A lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and now one of the reasons why we went as long as we did is because this guy has had his pulse on junior hockey Tier 3 for a long time, and a lot of the information he was passing along, you won't hear anyplace else. So we just gave him the green card and let him rip, and it was great information.
Good information, and yeah, one of the things I was thinking of is why can't they take kind of what they do is like a recipe. Why can't they take that recipe and have classes at USA Hockey and give that knowledge to other people? This is what you need to do. And I'm going to refer over to like a McDonald's, and I'll do this real quick, but McDonald's does the same thing almost every time, right? With whatever they're making, whatever is on their menu, they make the same thing every time. And, for the most part, it's good. Maybe a reach, but you do the same thing over and over again for the most part. You've got that base core structure and process in place, and you can build off of that. And, it seems like Helena has done that. They've got the base core processes taken care of, and just building off of that with their internal infrastructure, they've turned that into major success.
Wow, that was insightful. I like
I'm just gonna shut up now. Go ahead.
No, I like the McDonald's reference. When you make something time and time again, it becomes ordinary. What I like about Helena and what I like about the A-Dub is that they're not. They stepped away and did the standards of excellence, and that kind of set them apart. Then a lot of other teams may, hopefully they take sort of that mindset and start looking.
And the point I'm trying to make there is you've got to have that core belief and process, like the standards of excellence that they have. That has to be there. That has to be a rock. I'm not saying, and it's like a recipe, I'm not saying that you can't make adjustments to that, because you have to, depending on your players, depending on changes that are made. Those things have to happen. But just having that core, year after year is been working for them.
Well, when you have a solid base,
yep,
the information placed upon that base is a lot more solid. So, it was a great interview. We're going to cover A-Dub real quick, because this has gone way over what we normally end up doing. But the A-Dub, actually, a couple of big things happened last weekend. Helena lost, actually.
Parents' weekend, too.
Parents' weekend. Yeah, Missoula. Missoula was outshot 64-38. And just ran into a hot goalie. Jansen was all over the map, making very solid saves. So that does go down as the second loss for Helena. And I had a talk with a couple people about that. And, a loss every now and then really brings you back to earth and lets you know. Because I think it was a 28-game winning streak they were on, something like that. They were just tearing it up. And so Helena took the second hit of the season, running into a hot Missoula. Bozeman got on the winning side for once, beating Gillette 3-2. Good to see that.
Yeah, that happened Saturday night. And the other game Saturday night, we had Missoula taking Great Falls 5-2, and Helena came back and won against Billings 4-1. Yellowstone ended up taking Glacier 4-3, and then Missoula 3-0 over Great Falls.
Yellowstone took Glacier 4-3 in 2 overtimes.
Yes.
So that Glacier, again, has only got 1 win in the A-Dub so far this year, but very close to beating Yellowstone, but Yellowstone does take it in 2 OTs. Upcoming games, Gillette's in Yellowstone Thursday, tonight. That game's over probably. Don't know who won, but they were in Yellowstone tonight. Bozeman's in Billings tomorrow evening, 7:30 at Centennial Ice. Gillette is in Helena tomorrow night at Helena Ice, and Yellowstone is in Missoula. All those game times, 7:30, 7:35, somewhere in there.
Mountain time.
Yeah, so that is actually going to pretty much wrap things up here for another extended version of the Red Light District Junior Hockey Talk Show. We sure do appreciate everybody kind of tapping in.
Yes, we do.
Letting us know what's going on. Again, if you'd like to reach us, bsboyslive.com. Love to hear from you. If you want to call and leave a voicemail, you can do that, 971-258-2840. Next Thursday night, maybe we'll go about an hour and a half since we ran over this episode. Anyway, folks, we do appreciate you joining us right here.
Yellowstone won 5-4 in overtime.
There you go. Yellowstone wins. It's a good thing that people are paying attention.
Thank you, AJ.
AJ, we're going to take off, start the car, heat it up, warm it up, and buzz out of Felony Flats, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be talking to you next Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Take care. Safe home.
Bye-bye.